Now, we'll talk about business document formats of letters, memos, and reports. Modify international messages to accommodate readers from other cultures. Be more formal in tone. For important messages going abroad, have someone familiar with the local customs read and revise the message. Compare strategies for revealing bad news in other cultures. In most high-context countries like China, straightforwardness is avoided, and hints of bad news, subtle meanings must be interpreted carefully. Since English is a foreign language in China and not adapted as a second language such as in India, the standards for letters and memos will not always apply. The purposes of business letters and memos in China parallel the purposes they serve in North American businesses, such as requesting information, disseminating information, proposing projects, and making sales, and so on. Now here's some hints to the letter writing. Make sure that your letterhead includes a fax number. Faxing continues to be an important component of doing business in China. If a letter is generated on organizational letterhead, enter a document number on the far right side of the page. The number identifies the letter's place in the organization's history of letters. Beneath the document number, but on the left side, type only the name of the addressee's organization, not the address, followed by the name and appropriate title of the individual addressee. Chinese names are traditionally written with the surname, that's the family name, first, followed by the given name. If your addressee has already written it with the given name first, continue to follow that form. The sender name and date are typed toward the right side of the page without a complimentary close. Dates are typed immediately under the sender name in year, month, day format, without commas. Now here are some hints for the memos. Memos are printed on organizational letterhead, and in many cases, all contact information is included. Memorandum numbers comparable to the letter reference numbers are included near the top of the page. Enter the date immediately below the memorandum number. Below the date, in the center of the page, type the subject below, and below that, type from and your name. Unlike North American memos, there is no mention of the recipient's name. Then you type your body. Type your name again along the left side of the page. Use titles and family names in all of your business correspondence. Do not use given names by themselves. And finally, when writing something, always have the Chinese translation with it.
Chinese love to entertain their guests, so expect to be invited to a banquet. To decline would be rude, so you better be prepared. You're also going to be expected to return the favor. Don't outdo your host, though. You don't want to offend him. Always arrive early and plan on spending several hours socializing. Conversations should be kept light. Compliment your host often. Don't talk about business and never begin eating or drinking before your host. Eat lightly. There could be as many as 20 courses. Don't finish all your food. Your host will think that you're still hungry and give you more. He might even get insulted because he can't feed you enough. Try everything though. Not trying it could be considered equally as rude. Any attempts to use chopsticks will be greatly appreciated. When finished with them, please place them on the chopstick rest though. Do not drop them. Do not lay them across your bowl and do not lay them across your bowl because these are signs of bad luck. Serving dishes are never passed around. Never put them straight up in your bowl. This will remind your host of chopsticks, which are a sign of death. Serving dishes are not passed around. You just serve yourself with your chopsticks, but use the side you didn't put in your mouth. And never take the last bit of food. You don't want your host to think that you're still hungry. Toasting is very popular. Let your host toast first, though, and women should never drink. When fruit is served, the meal is over. Gift giving in China can be a very delicate issue. You should probably consider giving it in private or to the group as a whole to avoid embarrassment. Typical gifts are banquets, which are probably the most acceptable gift, quality pens and stationery, as long as they're not made in China, gourmet food, but not to a dinner party. You don't want to offend the host. Quality liquor, candy, or fruit baskets. Never give clocks, straw sandals, handkerchiefs, storks, cranes, or anything white. These are all considered symbols. They all symbolize death. Should be wrapped in red paper because red is the color of luck, and offered with both hands. Don't expect your host to accept it in public, though. So you should give it to him in private. In fact, you might have to offer it to him 3 times before he even accepts it at all. They don't want to appear greedy.
Now for the currency and exchange of payments for goods and services. As for the payment of goods and services, cash is used for most transactions. Credit cards and even checks are not widely used. Most Chinese don't even have bank accounts. Individuals must shoulder most of the expense of their own healthcare, education, and retirement. Haggling, bargaining, and making deals are fixtures of economic life between businessman and client, vendor and customer, boss and employee. The government regulates the price for many consumer goods to avoid social unrest. Chinese have a strong entrepreneurial spirit and powerful desire to succeed in business. Instead of signing their name, Chinese stamp their name on forms, bank withdrawal slips, and letters with a chop or a signature stamp. Without a chop, one cannot open a bank account or even register for a university class. The average Chinese have 5 chops, with one being registered with the government to certify ownership and is only used on important documents. Chinese money is known as renminbi, or abbreviated as RMB, which means people's currency. The People's Bank of China prints and issues the currency. 1 yen is divided into 10 jado, and 1 jado is divided into 10 fen. The word yen means round, as in round coin. The new communist government set the value of the renminbi. Under this change, 1 new yen was equal to 10,000 old yen. The value of Chinese money in exchange with other currencies could not rise or fall. Only certain government agencies and banks in China could handle foreign money. In 1994, the yen was pegged to the dollar, meaning that the yen's value rose and fell with the value of the dollar. Domestic and international currencies are traded at the Hong Kong Foreign Exchange, the 5th largest in the world. It has a turnover with over 90 billion.
General rules to consider for business transactions and socializing. Business transactions. The exchange of business cards is an essential step when meeting someone for the first time, so bring more than you need. If someone presents you with his or her card and you do not offer one in return, the person will assume that you either do not want to make their acquaintance or that your status in your company's heritage is very low. Since many people are unable to read English, it is better to use a card with one side in English and the other in Chinese. Show decorative degrees on your card and make sure that it clearly states your professional title, especially if you have the seniority to make decisions. If any facts about your company are particularly noteworthy, for instance, if it's the oldest in your country or industry, mention this on your card, since the Chinese view this very favorably. Present your business card with 2 hands and ensure that the Chinese side is facing the recipient. Similarly, accept others' cards using both hands if possible. Smile and make eye contact while doing so, then examine the card carefully. At the beginning of a meeting, there is normally some small talk. This allows participants to become personally acquainted. It's best to let the local side set the pace and follow along. Like I said earlier, the most senior member of your group should lead the discussion in Chinese business culture, and remember, it's inappropriate for subordinates to interrupt. It is good to make a presentation, but keep it simple and avoid over-designing it. Verify through diplomatic questions whether your audience understands you or not. Since saving face is so important, people will not openly admit it in front of others that they do not understand what you are presenting. You should bring a significant number of copies of anything you present and see that each attendee gets one. The appearance of your presentation materials is not very important as long as you include good and easy to understand visuals. Use diagrams and pictures whenever feasible. Cut down on words and avoid complicated expressions. Have your handout materials translated to Chinese or make it bilingual. When a meeting is over, Chinese counterparts leave the meeting before the other parties do. Gender. Women are usually the bearer of bad news when it comes to business decisions. However, in the business world, the junior member of an organization will not make a decision without consent of the senior member. Socializing in a business meeting. Before meetings, it's better to learn some common Chinese expressions like hello, thank you, goodbye, as well as some knowledge of Chinese culture, history, and geography. If you speak Chinese, they will really appreciate your efforts and take your initiative of doing business in China more seriously than if you do not speak any. When meeting with government, learning the names of the high officials is very important. Politics should always be avoided and never lead the conversation to sensitive areas such as Tibet and Taiwan. The Chinese are very proud of their long and glorious history. It can be a very good beginning to build a nice relation. It's common for Chinese to ask some private questions such as your age, salary, and marital status. If you do not want to reveal that information, remain polite and give an unspecific answer with a pleasant smile. However, you can always ask some general questions like, how long have you been working here? To show you care and have an interest toward the people you are meeting with. Small talk is welcomed in the beginning, the middle, and the end of a meeting. In China, good personal connections are very helpful to business. Showing your respect and giving some compliments can be a good way of doing business. During the meeting, a confident tone is very agreeable. Make sure that you don't speak too fast and leave enough time for people to digest what you have been saying. In addition, a slow tone somehow implies your position in the company. No matter if you can speak Chinese or not, bring an interpreter with you always, not only to show your respect for the meeting, but also your status in your company. A firm handshake at the beginning and the end of a meeting is necessary. Avoid too much body contact with the Chinese, especially with females. So this concludes the end of Cultural Project 2 in Cultural Project 2 China. So good luck, and we hope this information helps. Thank you.